There we go. Welcome, everyone. This is a conversation on journey. I think it's installment 5, chapters 30 to 35, or anything at all. And I'm going to try something different today because I felt I've been working a little too hard at being facilitator, which I don't really want to do. So this is just about sharing experiences and wonderings and questions and sharings around anything you've read in Journey or questions you have about it, and anyone can answer and share. So I'm just going to relax a little bit. What I have done is drop the questions to live by from this installment into the chat to everyone, just as a little reference point. That doesn't mean we have to talk about it, but there it is. Okay, so let's just chat. Anybody want to introduce themselves? That's fine. Kevin, I'm just curious where in England you are. We have a new person.
Yeah, I'm in West London. West London.
Can you tell me which town?
Ealing.
Ealing, okay.
Yeah, Ealing Broadway.
Nice.
About half an hour from the airport.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting outside I was trying to sit in the park, but they've closed the park. So I've been improvising.
That sounds good. We all are really, aren't we, in this journey into the unknown. But that's great. So I have a rough idea where you are. My husband's from South Harrow, Northolt area. Okay, so Lorraine, hi. You're on mute.
Muted.
There I go.
We just got started, and I said I'm just going to enjoy being with everyone today and let things unfold as they will.
Absolutely. So, it's nice to be with you.
Thank you.
I'm curious how Kevin heard about the journey in England.
Kevin?
Yeah, I saw John Mark's reference to it. To that, I mean, yeah, I don't want to go into my whole thing, but years ago I started off with the Course in Miracles, and I kind of quickly could see how my mind was getting hijacked by that, and I moved on to Aware Mastery, which which was a lot more about feeling, I felt, and because it's John Mark, I didn't finish that either, but there's something earthy about what I'm reading on this that's that connects with the kind of work that I work with Paul Farini in the background. His work that's always kept me grounded, and this journey into the unknown, I like the title of it. It's something that for me, I just very clear, you can't hijack that, nobody really knows. That's great. And I liked I just felt that just reading through it, I could feel it was talking to me a lot more. This the languaging of this. So sorry I went on a bit there, but yeah, it was just John Mark. I kind of seen him on this website, again mentioning it a few times for a few weeks, and I kind of glazed over it because I thought I didn't really want to read I didn't think I'd be another book, another channeling, another but something drew me to it, and it I found it kind of energetically. It was kind of helpful for what I've been reading through. It's my mind hasn't grabbed anything there, so it sounds like it's a fresh voice.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. That's great. Yeah, John Mark was pretty enthusiastic when he looked at the journey into the unknown. I'm really glad he's been sharing it, on his website, on his Facebook page and all that. Yeah, that's really cool. And just the way I've seen it is that it's simply a call to action. if your heart prompts. It's always if your heart prompts. Be in presence, bless everyone, be in the way of Mary, and as your heart prompts, take action. And the language, as you said, is very simple. It's so direct. It's not the kind of language that you can say, well, I don't understand. How am I going to interpret that? It's you can get it. The choice is yours, whether you're going to live it or not. Yeah, so thank you. I'm glad you're here, Kevin.
Well, it certainly started out with an image of what's going on in the world today with conflict and all of that. And I just like, him reminding us to stay strong in the truth and to witness what's going on, but don't fall into the trap of believing that is all there is. And I like the fact that he called it a moral crisis, because it is a moral crisis, very much so, especially here in the United States. I don't know about other countries, but here we certainly have a moral crisis.
Yeah. I think you put it really well, Judy, when you said, oh, am I on mute?
Yeah. I saw his lips move, but I can't, no.
Yeah, I'm going to try and unmute Jack. Can you unmute yourself, Jack?
There.
There we go.
Is it on?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Fine. What I appreciate especially is clarifications from the other two books. We've all read one, we all read the other, many of us many times, but now it's like pinpointing where we could have gone wrong or misled or ourselves or being misled by words. And I appreciate the clarification that it's doing on both books.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Judy, you put it really well about it being, it's not to look clearly, but it's not the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. And it's not the illusion that everybody,
No.
I really like that being cleared up.
Right.
And that's not the first, I don't know how many times already in these chapters that he's mentioned about the misinterpretations of A Course in Miracles. So I find
is that something anyone ever fell into, that misinterpretation? Anyone here really fell into that?
One of my students pretty much is confused about that and the ego, and for as long as that she's been involved, I find I've been correcting her a little bit more strongly because because I told her, I said, you really can't go on with that way of thinking. Plus, she's in A Course of Love. She's done A Course of Love with me, and she's repeating the 40 days with me now. And my point is, you really have to move beyond that. If you're going to keep going, you have to really be clear about those misperceptions and this illusion this and illusion that and the ego and all of that. So, and she's very open to it. Mm-hmm. But I can see old habits of the way of thinking. And when I say she, that includes me too, because there is no somebody else. Mm-hmm. But she would be my example of someone who, if she just tweaks the way she looks at it a little bit, it would be clearer for her. And so that's what I do. It's not a judgment or anything like that. It's just I want to see her move forward. And so does she. So she's always grateful.
Yeah. Yeah.
this is a great place for me to start. I wasn't sure how Christina, if she was going to raise questions, but you know, that, as I've said before, these chapters from 30 to 35, they're like directives again. And as you just clearly said, Christina, there's nothing confusing about these words. You know, they're quite direct. It's giving us direction, and we decide or not, like to act on the words or not. But in chapter 32, where it says, chapter 32, number 3, or number 2, even, it goes as far as that. There is no you. That was imagination, was the dream, the illusion. You was a cocoon that broke away to I am. And then number 4, verse 4 says, or you need to understand the misunderstood concepts that I've carried forth, maybe from ACIM, and you must clear up your misunderstandings to move forward. So I wanted to bring that up because for me, when I did study the course, I would be confused about, well, there's no world out there. You've projected everything. You've created the mountains. You've made everything. And I might have been misinterpreting that that's what that meant. But even I'm with a Course in Miracles group. And in that group, some of those people, they don't even want to go beyond ACIM. They're not sure about ACOL, right? There's been some controversy around picking it up, but they just don't see any, like, the illusion is the illusion. We're hallucinating. It's not there. It's the imagination. And I think, Judy, you might have been involved in this. In 2016, somehow it got an email that came across, and it was from Tricia Derringer. And I think across the top, there was a Judy Jungens even on it. But there's a picture of a world, and it says, you did not create the world. It's not a projection of your ego. You only created the definitions that you are applying to the world, and you see nothing as it is now. So I do realize what I see out there in my separated self-ego is illusion. Like, I love the lesson, is it 33, that says, everything, I see God in everything because God is in my mind, or God is in everything I see because God is in my mind, right? So that was from lesson 9, and it goes on to a few other things, but what am I trying to even say, where my confusion was, is that we aren't, when we're in the separated self, we're seeing what the world really is not. We're seeing we're seeing the world without being joined in union or relationship. We're seeing the world from our separated self, right? We're not seeing it in union. But once we are in unity and relationship, once we've undone through A Course in Miracles, that mind, that conditioned mind of who we thought we were, to come, and then A Course in Love taught me who I was. Like the Course in Miracles said, this is who you're not. The Course in Love said, this is who you are, right? And now, Laurel, in her book, Love on the Mountaintop, she talks about a 3-step, sort of 3 steps to realization between the mind, the heart, and then the last thing, what does she call it? The gut feeling. But I thought, this is interesting. To me, this is actually the process of waking up. You know, deal with that mind issue, get straightened, who we are in separation and ego, right? And then joining the mind with the heart, or becoming wholehearted by joining, right? That's step 2. And then now step 3, which would be journey into the knowing, is the doing and the acting. And what did she call it? Or the self-guidance, and the doing and the acting is with the prompting and the urgings that we do get from our own self-guidance in our heart, right? So to me, that's the process of waking up. Anyway, I digress. So going back to A Course in Miracles, I could never really buy that God didn't create the world. The world as I was seeing it then was a misperception. But now when I look outside, I mean, the birds are alive, they're animated, they're informed. It's God doing a dance for me when they're flying, you know, the little swallows in front of my window. The trees are alive. There's light in everything. I'm always dancing with joy. It's just full bloom, right? So that there's the one self, right? I'm one with everyone. We're one self in the sonship, in the one world. And I'm not sure that if I'm really clear about how I'm understanding this, but it does say you must clear up your misunderstandings to move forward. So I see what we're mistaking in ICM is there's absolutely nothing out there except what we put out there. But okay, so that's the wrong way of seeing it. It's that we've laid our sins on the world out there. We've laid our transgressions. So we see the anger, we see it from the fear. But once we fall in love with our authentic self, our true self, our Christ self, and Christ consciousness, it changes everything. It's love is ultimately all there is, but earth is as heaven is. Earth becomes paradise, earth becomes heaven. But is the material stuff really not there? Okay, so you guys need to help me because I need real clarification on not being confused.
It's a tough, what you've been describing isn't experience, so I'm having difficulty knowing how to respond to you. You're describing what you're reading in these books and talking about that. So first of all, I'm just gonna say one thing, then I'm gonna be quiet and let everybody else respond. I want right now, everybody can join and do this, okay? Just put your hand on your high heart, which is like on the upper part of your chest, left hand, right hand, it doesn't matter. And close your eyes if it's easier for you. And just take a deep, deep breath. Breathe in. I'm going to keep talking, so breathe in deeply. And wriggle your shoulders and relax those shoulders and your neck. And kind of, I know the mind is whizzing around like crazy. I know mine is, just from listening to you, Lorraine. The way they used to say your brain hurts. But I'm going to breathe and I'm going to melt that whizzing thing. It's melting like butter onto my heart, into my body. And pouring down. And I'm going to move my hand a little further down my chest on my heart. And breathe into that place. And the heart is tender. The eyes of the heart see everything. The eyes of the heart see in wholes. It doesn't see either ors. There is no separation. Take another deep breath and feel that heart. Feel the eyes of the heart, the ears of the heart opening wide. And the spaciousness and expansiveness. Imagine it's like a tender pancake. And all of that lovely butter is melted into it. And now feel that. Feel yourself expand and rest. The heart knows in wholes. It is only the mind that wants to analyze and separate and compare and put steps in place. Feel that place. Just hang out there for a little bit. Take a few breaths while you hang out there. This is the place of wholeheartedness, heart and mind joined. The only place from which answers arise. place where we're all joined, whoever's on this call now, whoever watches the video recording later, and whomever else, all living beings in the world are all connected with us on that web that is talked about in chapter 35. Now take another deep breath and feel all of that deliciousness flooding the rest of your body. All of that deliciousness flooding into your legs, your arms, your shoulders, and your whole body is now holy, as A Course in Miracles says. Your body becomes holy, and your very presence is a blessing. There is no need to think about anything. Feel it. Feel your connection to the earth through your feet, if you like. Imagine a golden cord running from way up in the cosmos, from source, flowing through you to the core of Gaia. And an infinity loop, looping back up, and constantly movement, constant flow of movement through you. That's who you are. Pure energy. And the truth is, we don't need any more books. Journey tries to make it as simple as possible, so we don't have to have discussion groups. You simply pick what appeals to the heart in that moment and live it. Okay, I'm done. Hang out there for a moment and come back. Open your eyes. You are here. You are already flowing into each other. We are clear pools flowing into each other. Able to observe with clear eyes and go beyond into observance. Feeling the oneness. Feeling all of it and behaving in no way without compassion for what so many human beings are going through. All the ones who have no birds singing, no houses to live in, starving for food, compassion, not burying our heads in the sand. And that's how I see what we're being called forward for. And I know there are 7.8 billion people in the world and 7.8 different ways of reaching whatever place we choose to reach. And I also know that collectively, not one of us is home until every single one, each and every one of us is home. A Course in Miracles was to soften our minds. A Course of Love was to bring it down into our hearts and bring us to wholeheartedness and to the accomplished self that can be in presence in the world. And Journey is simply saying, no more personal development. Those two books were brilliant. And with a couple of misinterpretations, here it is. Now go gather up your brothers and sisters. Being the presence, being the example. So, it took a long time, but I'm done. Thank you guys for listening and feeling in your belly. Heart belly is where we want to hang out. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Christina. I just realized that the intensity that was coming forth out of there, and I'm thinking, wow, where did that come from? But it was a release. I feel, I could only sense how intense I had come across as I started to
It's okay.
come down and relax. Absolutely, and I don't want to justify anything because I need to embrace.
Everything is perfect. Every single thing that unfolds is perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now enjoy that delicious pancake with all that butter. And by the way, my granddaughter says the heart is really a pancake with maple syrup already on it. And I added the butter to flow into it. So yes, hang on. Hang on.
Number 31, I happen to really like the idea of when he talks about the earth. There's a little book called Earth Speaks Up that I just finished reading in a little group, and it just really made us aware that the earth is a living being, and that I've always taken care of it. I have a garden, things like that. All these things, and he said, I don't have it all written out in front of me, but the fact that environmentalists are usually, Christ conscious people. And I went, well, that's true, because they're awakened to the fact that this earth is our home. I also liked where, I don't think you said this exactly, but it's like the people that are here, that are the souls, let's call them souls that are here, that are destructive, will not be invited back. And so that only those souls that are Christ conscious will be here, and then we'll really see heaven on earth, And right now we're just bringing it in.
And it have a long way to go. It could be hundreds of years, thousands.
That's time. There is no time. It happens here and now.
So the important thing is where we are now, and
where we are now. Yes,
yeah.
I know.
And can you just say, I wanted to ask you which part of 31, you mentioned that first, then you went on to the other book. Was there something specific that spoke to you in chapter 31?
Well, it's just the good news about the earth's well-being, that he spoke about it,
Right.
and that it supports Christ consciousness. And I really love the fact, this is the first time that he signs it, love always, Jesus.
I know, isn't that sweet? I love that.
And I think it really kind of,
I love that too.
than anything else, I think he was really bringing his heart into how important it is.
Right.
So
Right.
we don't overlook, because there is that thing about, well, how religions kind of promised us a heaven after this life, but the fact that, why wait? And so we can co-create heaven right here, right now, when we literally co-create. We bring in spirit, not just
Bless everything, right? I mean, you're walking the earth, blessing every footstep as you place your feet on the earth. That is a full-time job if we try to remember to do that. And Gaia hears you and feels you totally. And that's what people are calling the earth now, Gaia, because she ascended herself as a living being in 2012 and has been struggling to right everything since then. But I wanted to say something. I'm the mathematician engineer in me. The sentence in chapter 31 is, being an environmentalist is in alignment with Christ consciousness. Okay? It doesn't say that all environmentalists are awake in Christ consciousness. And the important thing, so this is a beautiful example actually of how you cannot tell by actions, outer actions. You cannot tell, because the actions can look the same, but one will feel different and be sustainable and the other will not. If it's coming from fear and anger versus arising from that place of blessing all and blessing the earth. So that's all I wanted to say. It's very, Jack, please. Stop me from talking, somebody, please.
I'd like to come back to the question of the illusion. If we are creators, we create in every second, but every time we create not being in contact with love, we are miscreating, we are in the illusion. But every time we're totally loving, we can't create illusions. So every time we see an illusion, it advises us that, whoops, I'm not connected, I'm not in love in this moment, and therefore I'm creating this illusion. And to me, that's the key word throughout the day. If I'm not in a loving position, in a loving activity, I'm losing myself.
Mhm. Nicely put. Um, there is a collective co-creation also, miscreation. So I think that's the way I'm feeling the message of journey is that if you have done some work, I haven't done all my work. There's plenty more work to do to be totally in relationship with all of everything all the time. But if I have done sufficient work to be a saint, as the Ascended Masters and Jesus call us in this book, it's kind of complicated because the miscreations are destructive and chaotic and painful for a lot of people, but we're being asked to witness and be in observance. I really think A Course of Love explains it so well, the observance. It's a beautiful way to describe looking with clear eyes, with love, and looking, remembering for those who forget. And certainly I need people to remember for me when I forget all the time. And that is what's so important. So thank you, Jacques. I mean, I love that. And I just think that that little wrinkle about collective miscreation, you know, is something that I still don't fully get down here, you know. And it's really what Journey's addressing. It's saying that it doesn't, I don't even know what to say, but it's like, the shit that's happening is happening, you know, at the level at which it's happening. And for those of us who are in the 5D kind of level, don't pretend it's not there. Get back in there if it's your choice. That's the call. You don't have to get back in there. But if you choose to, look at it and look beyond it, through it, and hold it in observance. And that's the transmuting of it.
When I'm there, everybody's there. Whether they're aware of it or not, I just know we're all in the same love posture or love environment. And I realize that many people are not feeling it. But if I'm feeling it, somehow I'm showing it or I'm teaching it. Whether they realize it or not, that's not my responsibility.
It's certainly within me, otherwise it wouldn't be out there. So let's get real, okay, Jacques? I love this. Let's do this. Okay, so you say you've joined a protest, okay? You decided to go out on the streets and join a protest.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandchildren or somebody said, "Come with me, you know, I need your support." So you go to a protest and things go a little bad and some people start getting beaten, you know, with clubs or whatever by the whoever they are, you know, the riot police or whatever. You're there. Tell me what you do. I want to know what you do.
Keep myself loving. In whatever happens, I have to remind myself I'm a love promoter, or I'm a love teacher, and this is my only role in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Love the police, love the people that are angry. Whatever happens, I just have to keep loving in that circumstance as well.
Mm-hmm. And what would your body be doing?
I have no idea. My mind and my heart are loving. My body will comply.
Can you give me an example? What you imagine could happen next?
I was in contact with a person that was very, very angry this morning, and she was so upset that it was needless trying to discuss her upset. I just said to myself, I'm loving you, upsetted, and out of yourself, it doesn't matter. I'm still loving you. I said it to myself because if I say it out loud, she won't believe it. It doesn't matter. I just loved her the way she was in that moment.
Mm-hmm. And what did your body do in that moment?
it just relaxed.
And it was sitting there silently in front of her.
It was, well, this one on the phone, therefore she didn't see me. I was smiling. I was relaxed. I never felt better than in this moment. I was overcoming what looks like a bad moment, but it wasn't a bad moment.
So was she expressing anger on the telephone call?
Yep. She was expressing anger about somebody else and about what she was feeling.
So you were listening with love.
I didn't walk in that. I just kept myself smiling, loving, and I just loved to see her express her anger and her bad feelings. I didn't say a word about it, but I truly felt I could love her within that situation.
Right. No, that's beautiful. That's the neutrality you're talking about. Some people call it divine neutrality. Some people call it 0-point neutrality. Some people, what does the Course of Love call it? It is neutrality. It is being in that place of observance and enfolding all of everything in love. And things that are difficult, or someone who's angry, I think it refers to as like, could be an obstacle, but when you enfold an obstacle in love, it becomes, it renders it, invisible or ineffective. And if the person has any opening, then they will feel more comfort.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
She didn't feel it in that moment. And I'm sure that later on, she will realize it.
Right, because it's quantum. There is nothing other than the present moment.
Right.
All the love you provided is there. That's real. That's what's real. And it's for her to access at any point.
That's right.
You will feel it. Yeah.
She'll
I love that.
To access it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I still want to, one time we got to talk about what we do if we decide to go to a protest or a house is burning and something's happening, because that's the part that it's kind of silly in a way to speculate, because you don't know till you're there. That's the whole point. You don't know till that moment what you would do. But it is interesting for my mind to think about what I would do. See, I go to my mind too, Lorraine, okay?
Love.
Thank you, Christina.
Kevin, I really want to hear from you a little bit, because you're new to Journey, and I don't know whether, tell us, have you been able to read the earlier installments? Where are you? Can you hear us, Kevin? There you go. Just chat to us.
Yeah, I kind of I kind of read through them literally a day ago, and I was, as I said, I was I read quite a few of them, and you don't read these things, right? There's a contemplation, there's a way you approach them. But for me, how I come to look at this work is always from an angle, not an angle, more from a place of where am I connecting to any kind of aliveness in myself or the book or another person. I'm very conscious how much I go into here all the time. I mean, revolving circles, concept with everybody, and still there's quite a lot of discipline. But I mean, and it was interesting what we're just hearing. So for me, that's what I was looking for initially when I was reading this. I mean, the fact that it was John Mark, and John Mark, listening to John Mark, it cut out an awful lot of things for me, a lot of dead ends. Just attending he did a thing. I think if anyone's attended it for the last few years, he did every now and again with his wife. They would do a series of presencing, belief into presence,
right?
And it was really helpful because it cut out an awful lot of stuff that can get, you can spend centuries on looking at these books. So
yes. And so keep thinking about it and reading it over and over and thinking about it and reading it, but not feeling it.
And where's the lovingness in that? You otherwise you just get caught up in a book and you've lost all opportunity to just be kind and all those qualities that don't really need an awful lot of reading about. But what I was intrigued by was the fact that he recommended this.
Yeah. Well, he was one of the first people that came to mind when I began thinking, who can I ask to share it? And yeah, yeah. Because his group is called Beyond Belief into Presence. And this is essentially what Journey is saying. Your very presence, your heart, mind, and body as one with no separation is the blessing. Your presence.
That's beautiful. And yeah,
the blessing.
It is a blessing. Yeah. And cultivating that, and how, you know, the last 5 years, I mean, I was pretty much in a coma up to 5 years ago. I mean, I didn't know anything about oneness or, you know, this stuff. I was very much in duality, but, you know, it's been quite a journey, and in the last 5 years. But, you know, his belief into presence really, he referred to many times in those books, just drop all your books, even in the Course in Miracles. At some point, there's someone said, just drop it, come to me naked, come to yourself naked. And so I was just intrigued. I didn't look at it, the fact that he referenced this book. And I trust myself a lot more now. You know, I've gone through some dead ends in the last few years, and that's been part of the journey. But I trust him because I do feel the Christ. I feel the connection, and you know, and everyone. You know, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But he recommended it, and so it was just, you know, and so just reading through it, you know, watch the mind. You know, I read differently these days. It's not reading, but you know, you just how it lands differently with everybody, right? But this, I think for me, you know, this Christ, the Christ now is a word that I can relate to now. It was a word I found very difficult in the last 4 years, the Christ referring. Now I really see it, that it's, if you call it Christ or call it whatever you want, but I really, what am I saying with this thing? So it blew me away on a couple of things, because just throw something a bit of a wobbly in here, right? There's something came up. It said about sex. It talked about, and I went to money and sex on it, and there was nothing very complicated in what I read there. I mean, and what was intrigued me is that I've got friends and friends who've gone into big journeys on the sex front. You know, who've looked at where the ego has hijacked sexuality, you know, whatever, and they've gone in there, and they've really gone into, and they're still going in through a deep journey. But the first time I'd ever mentioned about celibacy. Now, you know, celibacy, I kind of looked at, you know, with, you know, it was Catholic and the Catholic priests and all that stuff, and that was unnatural. You know, we've seen the results of all of that. So I didn't want to, you know, break this to a couple of friends of mine who are really, you know, in the opening up to the you know, the sexual realms and working the way to God and connectivity that way. I say, hey, I've just read something, blah blah blah. So I was intrigued by that. What's, you know, that would cause some people who put a lot of work into what they're doing to say celibacy. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, please, Judy, but I just wanted to say that you could go back and listen to the video also, that when we talked about that. But please, Judy, go ahead.
Well, it's meant for you to think about that. I really wouldn't mention it to other people. Let the words land on them.
Right.
And let, you know, seriously, back in the 80s, there was a book called The Spiritual Sex Manual that I delved into. And, but it wasn't necessarily to be celibate. At least that wasn't it. It was about allowing spirit to move through us during the sexual encounter, which was extremely helpful and satisfying. And it took away any guilt, residual guilt from, you know, what we learned as kids and all this other stuff. And certainly took away the Hollywood kind of romance garbage that's out there. The book is no longer in print, but it really did open that up. And so celibacy unless you really have that spiritual connection with another person, you'll find that you would much rather be celibate. You know, that's my experience. So, you know.
Kevin, can I just say that totally, Judy, it is the thing about any book or any teacher, there's a litmus test, which is, are they pointing you to trust yourself and what arises within you? So Judy is completely right. This is not about telling other people what it says. You know, I said this last week, I would rather not even do these calls because I don't really want to talk about it, you know. It's everyone comes to their own. And I think in that chapter that you referenced, Kevin, it says, the Ascended Masters say, Jesus says, whatever your choice is, we will support you.
Right. So yeah, absolutely hear you on that, Christina. Because I mean, that comment I made, it would have been a very cruel thing. You know, that's what these books end up with. People, they grab it and then they take a line in it and interpret it, and it turns into a whole bloody thing, right?
Right, exactly.
And there's no kindness in that. There's no kindness in that at all. You might as well just throw all the books away, basically, if it goes in that direction. Is my feeling. So. Yeah, that wouldn't be. It was just something I brought up because we're in this group together.
Right.
It wouldn't be that cruel read to someone who's put a lot of work into it, and that I know better. Because I picked up something.
I'm glad you brought it up though, because that is one of the things that I was a little concerned about, that this would just become another book, and this would just become another group that discusses the book. You know, and I understand it's very new and refreshing, and it's good to talk about it a little bit. But the truth is what we do with the other minutes and hours and days of our week, you know, in terms of our listening in to that place and blessing yourself first, and then blessing whatever's in front of you. And it always is inside out. So whatever the choice is in that moment, if there's an action, that's yours to do, you know.
And I think, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And you know, as Judy also said, it's because then there's no separation. Whatever it is you're saying or doing, whether it's sex or money or whatever it is, there's no separation. It's coming from that oneness, that place of wholeheartedness, mind, body, and soul, all of it. Mind, heart, body, and soul, you know.
That that acceptance. Yeah, it's
yeah.
As you're speaking there, I can see the acceptance in all of it there, and I think that for me, I mean, how it's interesting now that I've even come to this book or even to this meeting, because I've had this experience. I mean, a year ago, where I did get in contact with this aware self, we call it, this aware self that's in relationship with everything. Yeah, it's in relationship to everything, and it was just it lasted for about 10 days. I won't go into the whole thing, and I'd wake up in the morning, and there was a little fear that it might disappear. This contact and my relationship with people and plants, people and things was very, very unusual. There was no leaning towards people or anything, but something happened, and I was in an environment for 10 days that cultivated that, with that kind of, and the group of people I was with was this aware self surfaced, and I realized it was just a butterfly. It wasn't something I could grab. And so it kept me going. I think it was a real feeling. It was, but it disappeared eventually. It disappeared. I got pulled out into the TV, the world, and all the rest of it. So I lost contact with this wonderful, fresh aliveness. And so my prayer has been since then is to, on a daily basis, in some form or shape or another, to make contact with life. And I like about the book is that it does talk in a very, very beautiful way about just just, it talks about blessing, but in, you know, you're in contact with people in a very gentle way. There's nothing erudite about it, that you're in contact with people very, very, you know, that actually there's this gentleness, and that you're touching people in ways that you're not leaning on them. And I like that what surfaced there in myself, you know, it kind of, it felt, there was a feeling to it that felt that, yes, that's something that this won't really, it can try and get hold of it, but we you know, we all know what that is. But it's, yeah, there's something, yeah, I like the blessing, and the fact that you really are seeing this I am, and it's, you know, there's only one person here, right? You can all fake it. We can all fake it here. You can all pretend that you're living over there and that, but we're all connected. So I you know, it's real. It feels very real for me.
Very nice.
Oh, go ahead. The other line that I really appreciated was in paragraph 6 of 32. You know, we might all teach in different ways, but we don't teach different principles. And I thought that was really succinct in the way he put it. It's like we're all individuals, but we're all also one with God, kind of a thing. So it's the same way with what we teach. How we present ourselves, I guess, would be the same way. We're all different, but we're all, but we all should teach the same, or will teach the same principles. So, and that goes back to what Jacques said, and it's just love. And just be it. So be it. We went through that last week. Yeah, so be it. And
yeah, so what we teach is the same. Well, and again, I get a little squirmy in my belly when I use the word teach, because it can be so misinterpreted. And it is used in Journey. In fact, it was a word that some people took, you know, umbrage with, saying that if you've done a course of love, then you're not teaching anymore. And I understand that, the teaching, if it's thought of in the way A Course in Miracles was, you know, being a teacher. But it's very, to me, whenever the word teach is mentioned in A Journey into the Unknown, it is usually accompanied by teach by example. Be the example.
Love the idea that it's not
example,
a
yes.
course.
Jack?
I love the idea that this is not a course. This is a journey. And it's a big difference. This is living it and not learning it.
And being the example. And yeah, and that's how we teach, just by being the example. Exactly. Being who we are in all our gory glory. In every speck of our gory glory. Yeah, just being it, being it, being it in each moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this is something that dawned on me this year in a real way, is that, you know, I had been for quite a while, you know, saying spirituality and kind of reading spiritual books and chasing processes and techniques, and it really started landing with me about that, actually, that you know, like, you know, you plan a wedding, and going to a wedding, there's all these things that are going to happen, and they preoccupy you up to the date of the wedding. And that wedding might be 2 hours, 3 hours, a big event, and then it's gone. And what I started seeing was that actually it's an important thing, you know, but actually it's secondary to what's actually going on. And this, what I was missing was this aliveness underneath that, of being here right now, for example, is is really as good as it's going to get right now. And so I'm kind of tickled that the little meditation there was, a kind of a new felt sense of, moving into the heart. That was very fresh. So for me, that's a prayer in the day. Somehow I've contacted life here in this group, whatever the words are, whatever they might say there, actually there's something else going on that's quite nice. But probably not even talked about really. It's just, it's 4 or 5 people here gathered tonight to not even have a go at, we're not even having a go to, we don't even know where to start with love, but I mean, like, it's not a word I use that often, but it's just, we've made time, it's just made some time here to kind of make some kind of contact on some kind of whatever. And we might not even know what's going on, what's actually happening here, but actually there's something in that.
Yeah. And it's the Course of Love calls, I think, describes it beautifully as we become as clear pools flowing into each other. And that is really what we're doing, is being in that deepest dialogue where our hearts know and our hearts are communicating. And we will be known by our light and our sound in presence. We don't have to use words eventually. That's kind of where we're going. We're energy, we're pure energy, the energy of love. And we feel it. We feel it. And to carry that feeling forth into the supermarket, into your kid's school, into every interaction is what we're being asked to do.
I mean, it's beautiful that it is that accessible, that it is, the supermarkets. It is, it has that potential, people say, what's your purpose? But actually, it is this, you get opportunities to, as you say something to someone, it could be helpful. You don't know, you're not really in it, or you're touching people the whole time, but you're never really sure, you'll never know a lot of the time who you touch and how you're touched, and how you touch is how you're touched. And for me, it's anything that draws me towards more and more gentleness is helpful. Or, that's still a challenge for me, the gentleness. Big one, being gentle.
It's the everyday journey. I'm sitting here in a space that is so calm and cool and beautiful. And be kind, be calm, be safe. And nothing has come to mind. But as you spoke, Kevin, something did go through my mind, that I am living the presence in the present moment. I am being and doing all at one time in the present moment. And that can be taken into the supermarket. It can be taken into the protest street, or it can be taken to the telephone call when somebody is aggressive, or, the journey in each moment. This journey is a sacred journey. And the ordinariness of what we've seen or maybe not appreciated in the everyday moments of life is so sacred and so divine. And I'm very touched right now. I'm very honored to even just see that a little more clearly. Being a divine spark in the divineness. It's not extraordinary. It's sacred and it's ordinary.
Mm-hmm. It's both ordinary and extraordinary. When we live it, there is no separation. And actually what you're describing so beautifully, Lorraine, is, if you remember the chapter 35, the picture is the spider web. And the question is, are you weaving a spider web of truth? So with every moment, every step you take blessing the earth, everywhere you are, every moment, every choice you make that way to be a blessing, to be the love that's missing, as Jacques described, you know, to be on that phone call and be the witness, the loving, neutral witness, so that someone could express their anger and it wasn't going to be supercharged more. It was going to be simply as it is, and perhaps settle a little bit too later, you know, because of his presence. Jacques actually just being the presence of love. So yeah, that's enough, and it's everything. It's everything. And out of that place, an action might arise. You know, you might do something huge. You might start a movement. You might be a speaker at a protest, but it's going to come from that rising from that divine feminine place, the way of Mary. And then you do the action in the way of Jesus and you return. You don't leave that place. It arises from that place. You are that place. You are both and. And that's what it means to be in dialogue with all things all the time, to me, living it. Go ahead. Oh dear, she disappeared. I was about, Judy, where did you go? Oh, maybe she's leaving. Oh yeah, she has something at 6. She always leaves on the dot at 6, and that's how I know it's time to wrap up. So anybody want to add anything before we wrap up?
I'd like to add one thing.
Jacques, go ahead.
There's no act of love that is ever lost. Although it may not appear to be active, it will do its work in all places and at all times.
So true. You never know, and that's why A Course of Love talks about giving and receiving as one in the moment. We do it, and it's complete. Love's call and love's answer. It's complete within us. What happens next is none of my business. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. So good to have you guys here. Well, please, anybody else would like to say anything? John, I'm not going to call on you, sweetie, because when you start talking, we get all kinds of weird noises like aliens. So one day maybe you'll be somewhere where there's good Wi-Fi, but I'm glad you're here and I feel you. And we've been wrapping you in spacious love also. I hope you can feel that.
Well, thank you. It's been a great hour being with you all. Kevin and Jacques and Judy, who's no longer there, I really appreciate it. And to you, Christine, thank you so much for being present and just being sort of muted and listening, because you've all said so many things that I had to hear. Thank you.
And don't think about it too much, Lorraine.
No.
Let your heart speak to you. You know, you can just tap yourself. If you feel into the upper part of your chest, do you feel that bone there? It's at the top of your sternum. It's not the collarbone, it's just the sternum. And if you move your finger just above the top of the sternum, you'll feel a little depression there. Little kind of dip.
Oh, yes. Okay.
That right. Is, you know, all the chakras. They're all related to glands in the body, pituitary, pineal, whatever. This is the thymus. And this is the regeneration gland. This is the gland that regenerates the elevated self of form. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So this is the place of the high heart. The heart and mind join, which according to what I understand was cracked open in humanity at 9/11 in 2001. That's what the meaning of that was, that the whole world cracked wide open when that happened. And the heart is the color green, and the throat represents the mind because it expresses the mind in voice, is blue. So this high heart chakra is the place of wholeheartedness, and it's the color of turquoise. So just so when you tap yourself there, you're reminding yourself that you're a wholehearted, accomplished being of love. Because the body is involved. The body has become holy.
Thank you, Christina.
All right.
You've shared that before. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay, great. All right, guys.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Kevin,
Thanks,
glad
everyone.
you're here. Wonderful to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Thank you. Thanks
What's
to
your
everybody.
last name, Kevin? So are you, did you
Sandu. Sandu.
Sandu? Great. I kind of know that name from somewhere. It's weird. I recognize the name. That's so
Okay.
weird.
Yeah.
All right, great. Great to have you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye,
Goodbye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye, everyone. See ya.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.